Everyone, good evening and welcome to my channel, one of my channels, Turner Life Sport. Today I'm gonna be talking, this is like a cycling vlog, and I'm gonna be talking about different things. Since I am in season 3 of my cycling journey and I am training for the Olympic triathlon in 2028, I've been wanting to make this video, long story short, for a really long time, and now, like today of all days, now is the time to do it. So, without further ado, I got my headphones in because my AC is right next to me, and I don't want any bad feedback. But I'm gonna be talking about like some different concepts, like a lot of different things in this video. It's gonna be great. Kind of key points. Or investments. This is because this video is really for my brothers and sisters who are cyclists or who want to be cyclists and who are also generally athletes. So like I was saying, on the one hand, I'm gonna be talking about my journey and what I've done, and on the other hand, I'm gonna be kind of giving tips to someone who wants to invest in cycling or just wants to be a cyclist, and whether professional or just to start maybe recreational or whatever. So the first thing that I'm going to be talking about is investments and the different kinds of investments, and let's get into that. So I actually just line dried my kit today from Bontrager. And I love it. That's one of the greatest things I've invested in. But that's actually not, even though I recommend that you invest in a kit if you're new to cycling, even if you've been cycling for years, like you should have a kit. But I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later. So if you are new to cycling, like you should, what I did was I invested, like I had a target in mind. I basically had a budget, and I spent just over probably like $1,100, maybe $1,200 on my setup, like my first year. And like when I first invested like 3 years ago, I got my Fuji Feather, and it was brand new because I didn't want to like build a bike or anything. Actually, I thought about it, but I really didn't put a lot of energy into it, And then I knew I needed a helmet. I didn't actually think anything about, I looked at cycling shoes and I saw pairs for like $300, and I was like, well, I can invest in a pair of running shoes. And I did, as opposed to cycling shoes. And I didn't, I didn't even know this at the time, but my little Feather over there, she, as you can see, just has, sorry about that. She has platform pedals, so unless you have clipless pedals, not a big deal. And if you don't know what clipless pedals are, definitely look them up. But here are, 4 things that you need, and 4 things that I got. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. The first thing that you should, again, this is kind of like playing the end game, right? So kind of like in chess, there's 500 million people that play chess, but there's only 1,700 grandmasters in the world, and that's because they've mastered every single, or at least they've gotten exceptionally strong in every single part of the game. So, kind of like going for the end game here. The first thing that you should invest in, actually, before you even pick out a bike, is a helmet. And I'm going to talk a little bit about helmets and kind of their price ranges and different companies and what you can expect. And my helmet here, here's my cycling shorts. I'm going to talk a little bit about them in a minute. This is really, I can't control myself. Okay. So this is my helmet that I got 3 years ago. My whole kit is from this line. It's called the Solstice and Bontrager. And like just looking at price points, you might, if you're just thinking in terms of dollars, you could be thinking like, okay, well, like $60 for a helmet is kind of like that's definitely not like just a Bell helmet that I'd get at Walmart, but you know, it's not the top of the line like race helmet or, you know, like even mountain bike helmet or whatever. And like, well, what are the features on it and this and that? Well, actually, one thing that I love about this, even though I don't have it, is that I can put a GoPro on this. And I don't know if I have I actually don't. I'm not sure if you can see this. I'm going to talk about the practicality of the helmet and why I bought it in just a minute. I didn't buy it because I can wear a GoPro. I'm not sure if this is kind of like I don't know if you can see. Let's see that like kind of like neon thing. I actually don't know what that is. If that's kind of like the mount or like kind of cradle for it or what. But I remember reading in the manual, which I don't think I have anymore, that I could put a GoPro on this, which is really cool. But anyways, this is a really great helmet, and the reason why it's really great is because it has something called MIPS, and there's like, sorry about that, there's like a ton of research and stuff you can do on MIPS. It's like just like, I don't remember if it was like a Swedish guy who came up with it, but Bontrager and Trek, their parent company, use it, a lot of their stuff. A lot of different, you know, cycling companies when testing their helmets now use MIPS. And basically this is way different than like, you know, because I grew up on the Schwinn bike that, you know, I got from Meyer, just the grocery store bike, mountain bike. And it's like, that's like leaps and bounds ahead of that, you know, just something that you put on your head and you're kind of going fast and you're not even really that athletic or whatever, but because you don't practice, you don't want to, but it's really great. And basically what it is that you have, so like if you were to fall off your bike, how you fall off your bike is kind of like, almost kind of like diving in a certain position, all right? So it's really kind of like this, and your hands are forward, sort of like that, okay? And basically what ends up happening is that like you are more likely actually to like really injure yourself that way, even if you have a helmet. And I'm paraphrasing here because it's been like years since I've read the manual, but why I bought this thing in the first place, do your own research, seriously, sincerely, is because what MIPS does is it's not like any gel technology or anything like that, but when you have it on your head, the helmet basically it rotates. How it's set up, like the technology, I'm going to put my phone down just a second and put this on so I can show it to you. Spending a ton of time talking about this, I have other things I have to talk about. Basically, like, if I'm riding and if I fall, like the helmet is going, like, you know what I mean? It's going to like stay with however like my neck is twisting. So it's not just going to like cap off and fly like that. That's basically, I hope you can see that, but sorry about that. That's basically like the main point. And definitely, like I said, like read up on it, but that's like a huge thing. And then with the helmet, it's got like this adjustable, like where the B is, it's like super adjustable and super comfortable. And like, even though like I've not adjusted my chin, and the chin straps are magnetic, so that's like really great, and they're actually like rusted, but I'm not even worried about it. It's just a phenomenal product. It really is. Like, here it is, like, just look at that. Like, barely any wobble, you know? And it's sitting on its head. I mean, you can tell it's a really balanced thing is what I'm trying to say. So, long story short. And the reason why I say the first thing that you need to invest in is in a helmet is because before you're on a bike, you do need to have a helmet. Here it is a law in Indiana that you need to, if you ride a bike, you're supposed to have a helmet, even if you ride on the sidewalk. So I say that because, you know, first of all, breaking the law in state or country or whatever is like just terrible. But it really, those kind of people kind of like ruin it for everyone else. You know what I mean? Like they'll be going like really fast or whatever, but like for me on my, with years of experience and on my bike, I could be going at like an average cadence and know that I'm going to smoke that guy because I've got experience. I can pass him real easily. But at the end of the day, I mean, I also know he's never going to be able to catch up to me, even if he's running a gear ratio, even if he's, uh, on an upright bike, or even if he's got like carbon frame, because why? Because he's not wearing a helmet, and also on the other side of that, at the end of the day, like if I'm coming up behind someone, which I've done this in the past, and they're just like cruising or whatever, or they're just like, again, this is a hypothetical. I'm not saying it would happen, but they could just, I've seen guys like literally like pull out on the trail and just go to the other side of it, and like they don't, and then they'll like switch, or they just don't care because they're out cruising. They're not wearing a helmet, and to me that says I'm not training, but really what that says is like I'm just not obeying the law, which is putting everyone at risk. So that's what I'm saying. Wear a helmet, invest in your safety, even if you don't have a carbon frame bike. I don't, but I've maxed my bike out and I go way faster than what the manual says I know, because I've gone faster than guys on mopeds, and I haven't been racing them. It's just been my natural flow state. So first thing to invest in is a bike helmet, seriously, and definitely get one with MIPS. I recommend. There's different, like I said, you get into like mine was like 50 and like 50, 60 bucks, something like that. You get kind of like higher than that, you are getting like a little bit more technological benefits. You might not get an MIPS helmet at that point. And I'm going to put a link to Trek and Bontrager in the description below. They're a great company. And I do have to go fast here, and there's much more I'd like to talk about that. But the next thing that you need to get is a pump. I've got the Bontrager charger pump here, and it is a phenomenal investment. Like one time I was at the bike shop here, one of them, Bicycle Garage Indy, and there was a guy who, I'm not intending to be rude, but he honestly, like, I don't know if he was like homeless or what. Again, didn't really come in with a helmet, and he asked Sean, the manager there, he's like, hey man, can I just like use your bike pump? Because the store has a bike pump clearly. And I remember like thinking to myself, like, do you not have one at home? Like, and I wasn't judging him, but again, I was thinking like, I've made the investment, like you just don't have a bike pump, but you have a bike, like that sort of thing. You need to get a bike pump is my point. And this is like a really great one. This was like a $50 investment. And basically this, I don't remember the exact name for this, but this will do this kind of head here. There we go. Will actually fit Presta valves or French valves like I have on my bike, and then also your American or Schrader valves. So, and you can see here it says Presta and Schrader. So it doesn't cost anything extra for it, but it is like really great. And it's just, again, I mean, really lightweight and a great investment to have. So keep that in mind. And then the next thing I'm going to talk about are the bikes. And this is, I got to go quick here. Like what kind of bike do you want? There's different disciplines of cycling. So there's, track cycling, there's road cycling, there's mountain biking, there's, BMX, there's all kinds of stuff, right? So for me, I wanted a bike that could go fast. I really didn't even know what a road bike was. I didn't know that it was separate, but my bike, the Fuji Feather, has a has something called track frame geometry, and I knew that like with it, they advertised that it would make you go fast, and it was called the Feather. So even though I didn't really look up the weight, and I still don't know how much my bike weighs, it is very light though for a steel frame bike. Um, I knew I'd be going really fast, and I love that. So I bought it, like I said, and I love it. I love road cycling. I want to do road cycling much more than anything else, even though I'm training to be in a triathlon. There's, time trial bikes that, Trek and other companies sell for $15,000, just like their top of the end road bikes, like the Trek Madone and the Omonda and, stuff like that. So that do participate in the Tour de France. So, and with like, so if you have a track frame bike like mine, mine's single speed, so there's no gear ratio on there. You can see that it is just like the one sprocket, and then of course just crank, and I mean it's about as simple as you get, really. But I was gonna say something. I was going to say something, but basically you can tell that you're going to be in a different position on this than you would be on a mountain bike. Mountain bikes, they're more upright. Clearly, they've got straight bars. They don't have drop bars like this. These are standard drops, and these are the brakes that came with them. They're Tektros, and the calipers are okay. Actually, they served me really great, but they're not bad at all. Standard drops, like I said, so this is called the top position, and this is called the drop position. If you have your brake calipers like this, when you're starting out, if you do decide to get a bike like this, it's going to be a lot more difficult to ride in the drops than if you are on the tops because of where the brakes are located. If they were here, like you'll see drop brake calipers is what they're called, to be like right here on the bike, then people will ride more easily in the drops, and you can switch because you can then brake. But if you ride in the drops, you cannot brake and then climb back up to the tops. That's kind of more of an experienced, cyclist skill. Something to take into consideration. Do you want a single speed bike? Do you want a gear ratio? Do you want what do you want? In all sincerity, and what material bike do you want as well? Like I said, I've got steel frame bikes. There's all different kinds of steel frame bikes. There's 725 Reynolds. I've got 520 Reynolds. There's other Reynolds steel, and the story behind them is actually really interesting. Where they're at in, I've forgotten England, but there's aluminum, of course, and then there's titanium, which is the rarest one, but that's going to be multi-$1,000s, $2,000, $2,400 for a titanium bike, that sort of thing. And then the last thing, so get the bike that you want. I'm going to put a description. Actually, I don't know if I can because YouTube's not going to let me because they don't recognize my phone number being attached to this account. So fix it, YouTube. All right. That's a joke, but please. Last thing I'm going to talk about. So look up in your free time Fuji.com and Trek.com because they've got tons of great products, and Bonfiger and all that. So and the last thing, like I said, are shoes. So I recommend, there's a ton of people out there that ride, just wear a pair of tennis shoes. Fine. I'd recommend though, if you do decide to get more of a single speed or even, more of a track frame style bike, to get a pair of Nikes. Don't get Vans. I rode with Vans for a year and they were great, but when I'd sprint or I'd pull marathons like I did, I was shredding through them really fast. Even on the platform pedals, they rub up against the crank and it was they just ripped open the canvas. So get a pair of running shoes, not a big deal. And some nice cool socks if you're going to pull any miles on them. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all that you need. In the next video, I'm going to talk about, stuff that, I know I said I'd talk about my cycling kit. I'm going to do that next time because I ran out of time. But that is all you need, seriously, to like start. And with the budget that I gave, maybe you'll be able to invest in some other things like maybe a tire and some other stuff that I'm going to talk about in the next video. So this is actually part 1. Please stay tuned for part 2. And then also please stay tuned for another video that I'm coming up with about my triathlon training. And it's going to be all about increment training for if you're an athlete and you're lifting or you're doing calisthenics and stuff like that, even though, like I said, already talked about that. So, and also check out my other YouTube channel if you would, and subscribe to this one and that one if you love music and you're interested in that. That channel is called Turner Music Academy, with a capital T, M, and A, should be. And then also check out my Etsy store. There's over 50 listings for sale, and I do business with skylines and across the US and people all over the world. So yeah, thanks. If you're interested in art and the stuff that the great artists like Da Vinci